Hello everyone, I'm Barbara from Fairies in My Pond, and today I'm going to be talking about keeping your clay clean. I get this question almost every single day, and I do understand it is a huge problem with polymer clay, but I can tell you this, that the more you work with polymer clay, the less it gets dirty. Trust me. I'm going to explain some things here that I found that a lot of beginners don't realize. Is that when you're working with polymer clay, there's oils in our hands and it gets into the polymer clay. Some people don't even experience it, and some do. I am one that will experience the oils from my skin will react to the oils in polymer clay, and I will get a gray look to it or gray streaks. Now I'm going to explain to you how you get the gray streaks. Many beginners don't realize that when their clay is starting to get dirty, that you need to stop doing what you're doing and start cleaning it. Now many beginners don't really realize that it is getting dirty, and I know that sounds pretty crazy, but when you're not familiar with the clay of how it should look, you really don't notice it until it's too late. So I'm going to show you with this doll head that I've started, and I don't know if you can really see the dirt, but this is the part that I really want to express here, is that you don't want to wait till it's too dirty. You want to catch it in the very beginning. This piece here I consider is a little bit too far into being too dirty. But I'm going to show you how I clean it up. I always use cornstarch. Many people will use baby powder. But baby powder has a tendency to get into my clay and cause me to have white specks or white streaks after I cook it. Not all people experience that, I don't think, because a lot of people I've heard say it works for them. It doesn't work for me, and I don't want to really go through all the sculpting and then find out that it happens to me. So I've been using cornstarch for a very long time, and I have never had it happen. With my cornstarch, mine is in the box, but normally I like to put it in a bowl with a lid or put a plastic bag over it. Dirt can get inside the cornstarch. Your brushes that you use for dusting your polymer clay, I only use the same ones over. And I do, when I'm finished, I put them inside a plastic bag because the dust can get into the brush. Okay, now I'm going to show you what I do. Is I take my brush and I will put a pretty good amount of cornstarch, and I'm going to show you. I'll bring it up to the camera and see if it will show it. But my gray streaks are really starting to happen, and I'm going to explain to you how those gray streaks start. And it's when we're working with the clay, and I'm taking my clay and I'm moving my clay. And what I'm doing is I'm actually getting some oils from my skin onto the polymer clay. And if you notice, if you watch it as you're doing it, when you're shifting your clay, you will notice that all of a sudden you'll see this gray looking spot. Well, what happens is that as we keep handling it, and we take the clay from the other side and we move it here, or we ignore it and we put more clay on there, and then we go and we take it and we move it this way. We have now created that line to get bigger, and all we're doing it is we're shifting it into another area to where I'm making another line of gray streaks. Whenever you see a dirty spot, stop. Stop doing what you're doing. Get your cornstarch or whatever it is that you prefer to use, and I will dab it really good. I take a very sharp X-Acto knife, and really this one isn't as sharp as I would like, but I don't have a sharp one right now, so I'm just going to go through the stages here. And I dust it. But what I do is I don't think about how dirty it is. I don't even think where the dirt is. What I'm thinking about is I have to take my blade, and I am going to take that cornstarch and I want to move it off of the head. I want my blade to be slanted, not straight down, because I want it to slide. And believe me, you are taking a layer off. It goes slow, and this is why I say get it in the beginning before it is too deep into your clay. Take your blade, and I will go right across the polymer clay, and I am moving that cornstarch off of the head. But my knife is slanted enough to where I'm getting a very small amount of polymer clay. I will keep doing this, and as my knife, as you just saw when I came back, I was too close, so I jabbed it. So you see what you don't want to do? Well, I just did it. Okay, now when your blade starts feeling like it's not sliding, take your cornstarch, go right back over it, and make sure that you get that little layer of polymer clay off of your blade, because if you don't, you'll be putting it back onto your piece. So make sure that your blade stays clean as you're doing this. Okay? And you just keep doing it, keep doing it. And I know many of you are probably saying, well, when you finish this and you have to put new clay on it, will it stick? Yeah, it will stick. And I'm going to explain to you why it does. And that is because the cornstarch rolls off. The baby powder doesn't roll off. A layer of it will roll off, but baby powder is so fine that it still stays on top. And if I were to add a piece of polymer clay, it just wouldn't stick for me. And I'm going to show you. Now I would go all through this, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. So let's say it's all clean. Take your hand, make sure you get the cornstarch off your hand, and go back over it. Now, here's what you want to do, because it goes by feel. As you're doing this, it feels slick. Keep doing it. And actually what you're doing is you are smoothing it too. You're getting out all of those little divots that you might get into your clay. Okay. Now as you do this, you'll start feeling between your fingers and the clay, you'll start feeling that it starts grabbing just a little bit. That's what you want. And I'm going to show you because I'm going to add a piece of clay to it. Okay. Now I'm going to take some clay and make sure it's not, your clay's not around the cornstarch. Okay. Now I'm just going to lay a piece on there. See how it sticks? Now if that was like baby powder, every time I would pick up my finger it would move. Okay, now I take my tool and I always start from the center of that piece that I add, and I want to push down because I want to make sure that I don't get any trapped air. When you push down, always take your clay and move it out to the side. Center and out. Center and out. Center and out. And you just keep doing that until you pretty much have that whole piece centered down on top of your polymer clay. Center and out. Center and out. And just keep doing that. And then work your clay to however you need to work it. And then just go back with your fingers and you see how that stays? And you just keep working with it. Okay, you get the idea. But when your clay really starts getting dirty, stop doing whatever it is that you're doing with sculpting and try the cornstarch and see how that works for you. Polymer clay is truly a problem with dirt, but I'm going to be honest with you. The more you work with it, it actually gets not as dirty as when you first start out learning. It's you just learn it. But the most important part, and I teach this in class, is that as soon as you see a gray streak coming, put your cornstarch on it, start scraping it off, because those gray streaks do not just stay on top. It goes down into the clay, and sometimes you can even cut it and you'll still see the streak. It's still there. That's how deep that it has gone, because we're constantly working our clay like this. So all we're doing is we're shifting that gray colored streak onto another area, and we're actually making the gray streak bigger. Okay, everyone, I hope that has really helped you to understand about cleaning your polymer clay. It doesn't have to be a job, and really just enjoy it. I've gotten so used to it that it's just all part of it, and really I kind of enjoy it. Once you understand what's going on and what you can do to prevent it. Now, I will mention this, is that some people will use alcohol to clean it. And alcohol will clean it, but I'm going to tell you what happened with me, and this is why I don't use alcohol, is that since I have a problem with the oils, and let's say for the very first time I'm seeing that it's getting dirty, and I go ahead and I take some alcohol and I clean it, and then I start sculpting, and then it gets dirty, and I keep doing this. I found that I ran into some problems with that, because what I was doing was every time I put the alcohol on it and then put new clay on it and then put alcohol on it and then put new clay on it, that I was actually really taking out some oil, so that when I cooked it, my pieces were cracking. Now, if my doll is all finished and it's dirty, if I took some alcohol and wiped it, it can clean it, but when you have the gray streaks, that alcohol is not going to get that out. What is going to happen is that you will notice the gray streaks are so far down into that polymer clay that actually what you're doing is, when you take the alcohol and you're rubbing it, you're actually taking a top layer, but you're taking another layer that is deep down into the clay, and all you're doing is you're shifting it to another spot. You're just going to keep doing that and keep doing that, and you're going to look at your piece and you're going to say, oh my God, it's more dirty than it was when I first started. So just be aware of that. But in some cases, when you're working on something for a very short time and you've got just a little bit of dirt, the alcohol will work. But as I would say personally for myself, I always have a problem with my pieces cracking. Okay. In my next tutorial, I will be showing you how I had to think outside of my box to help students in my class who are beginners, to help them get their eyes in the same place and the same shape. I'm going to be sharing that with you in my next tutorial, so I hope that I will see many of you there, and as always, I hope that everything that I share with all of you will help you in some way. I'll see you real soon.